yourself. How long have you been in real estate, and what were you doing for work before and when you started real estate? So we'll just go ahead and start with Karen.
I was licensed in 2017. Yeah, I mean, section of the last I went to Kent State University. I was hired in fundraising, which was kind of close to sales. So, and I was fundraising for Kent State University libraries, and the dean invited me to come and work for him directly to be the director of marketing and communications. So I did fundraising and marketing and communications for the university libraries. That was 5 years. I didn't enjoy academia. I love my job and I love working with the students, particularly I love student employees also. But the bureaucracy was not my gig. So my husband said, "Why don't you get your real estate license?" So I did.
Awesome.
And so if something did go down, like I was their point of escalation into AT&T for me to get people to know their whole everything from marketing to billing to go to I managed $1 million accounts for a whole lot of years prior to coming here.
Cool.
We're learning about each other too.
I'm Carly Sabatney, team lead of the Sabatney team. I have been licensed since August of 2017. I very much like that. And prior to that, I was a table service. I'm 30. So I'm 15, and I went to college for 3 semesters and changed my major every semester. And I hated every single so I just did that and saved up to get my real estate license, which took me a lot longer than I planned on at the time, but here we are.
What are your 3 majors? Do you remember?
HDFS, Human Development Family Studies, which is Kent State's work essentially. And then I switched to dental hygiene, and I did some kind of required work hours of that and said, this is not for me. And then I was gonna switch to nursing, and then I found out you had to take a math test every semester. So, well, that's not me also. So I didn't go back. It was Christmas break that year, and I said, I'm just gonna wait till I figure this out.
Awesome. Love that.
Yep.
Good.
Of the degrees and the cool stuff you guys did, but
So when you got into real estate and started working, how long were you part-time? And then also what made you decide to start focusing more on real estate and going into it full-time? A specific benchmark or something, some type of goal you had to meet? We'll start with John again.
Okay. I was working full time when I was going to school. I went to Hondros on the weekends. I think it was like 5 or 6 weekends in a row that I did it. And my intention was not to sell real estate. When I got my license, it was because we were buying houses and fixing them up and selling them. So I just thought, well, I'll save money on commission that way. And then I started realizing I wasn't real happy with my career. So I signed on with a different brokerage.
And I decided that I would give it a year, see how it goes, give it a year. And in 3 months, I realized that it was a really good fit for me. All of the skills that I learned in business from sales, like follow-up and all that stuff, really came in handy. So I also hit the ground running. And so in 3 months, I quit my full-time job. And in my first year, I replaced my salary. Yeah.
To make that.
Yeah. Yeah. It just clicked. I just said, okay, yeah, this is it.
That's
I can do this.
Mine was a little different. So mine was about 2 months. And the reason being is because I always knew I wanted to do real estate. Obviously, Andros was like, you filled out this file like 10 years ago and you never came back. So I had forgot all about that. I had inquired about classes. But I took a class starting in January the 6th, on the weekends because I was working. And then right when I was about to take my test, my job went through a layoff. And my department was affected. So I essentially had 2 more months on payroll. And I was like, well, I'm going to get my license. And so then I had 2 more months after I got my license. So mine was a little different. I was kind of transition. But I always knew that I wanted to be self-employed because I knew that like I was tired of corporate. I was tired of the wondering when it's going to be us, like because we weren't laying off every quarter. We just never knew if it was going to turn or not. And it got to be very toxic. And so I just jumped in head first and hit the ground running while I had that 2 months of income still coming in to come in. I was attached to Nancy at the hip for those 2 months to get all of her knowledge and for her guidance. She was what was she at the time? Director of productivity. Yeah, she was Yeah, so I was attached to her at the hip, just anything she could tell me to build, and that's kind of it.
They're saying it's a little hard to find, so just.
Okay,
Speak up.
I'll talk louder.
Because you had to just, you like kind of. had no choice.
Absolutely, yeah,
Yeah.
because I was fixing an executive income like right away.
Wow.
And what happened in the first year? So how was the first year?
It was tough. I mean, I didn't do terrible, but I did better than average. The average agent does what they say 7 or 8 deals. I did more than that. It was definitely, I learned a lot that first year though. Definitely.
Yeah, so did everything wrong, and I will be very honest about that because that's why we're here today. That's why I'm here today. Yeah, so I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I did wait tables for 13 years. I started my first business in the 5th grade. I would clean out desks, sign business cards. If you've ever read, I think it's might be Glennon Doyle or Brené Brown, someone's first book about buying for. That was me with the pen. That thing. So I would clean desks instead of going to recess. My dad always used to flip homes. I wasn't always selling homes actively, but I was maybe. It was always kind of there. And the last 5 years I was serving, I was waiting tables, but I was working at one of our casinos. So I had a very aggressive hourly rate, 401k, benefits, all that stuff. So I was licensed in August 2017. And because I was working 5 days a week, I couldn't get as plugged into the industry as I am now. You know me now, you would not believe that for a second, but it's true. I wasn't going to anything because I couldn't. And one of the reps for a home warranty company, if you ever come across her, was a regular in my restaurant. And about 6 months in, I had had 6 closing in 1 week. And she came in and she goes, "What are you still doing here?" And I was like, "What are you talking about?" And she goes, "You're ready to go." So my first full year in real estate, I sold 32 houses with a full-time job working 5 to 6 months a week. And
Carly don't sleep.
I,
y'all.
I do know, but it's, believe it or not, the moment I knew I had to leave, it was over a protein bar. I went part-time I went part-time in the fall of that year with the job. And basically they just dropped my benefits and continued working full-time. We're not allowed to eat on the clock, or text, and I was doing deals on an Apple Watch in the corner. And my boss caught me eating a protein bar one day because I'd been up since 6 and I'd been showing houses and working and I hadn't eaten, and I started crying. I am not an emotional being. So I said, "Okay, that's it. I've lost weight. I can't sleep. What, I could come back. They'll take me back." Yeah, so I was way further from where I should have been when I left the job, when I finally did it. And I'll tell you guys, taking that leap will light the biggest fire under your rear end. I wrote like 8 contracts the following 2 weeks. What have I done? And just worked it, and I've grown those 32 houses to a whole team of people that are on their way to selling 32 houses. Sorry. On Zoom, my dog is here.
That was just Irene.
You already met her.
You met her, she went in the office?
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's a good segue, really, well, not Maggie, but like when you're talking about, it's a good segue to the next thing I was gonna ask, which is about like how to handle your schedule. Like, obviously, being up since 6 and not having eaten, like, it's not great.
No.
So, like,
I'm like 130 pounds, and at that point I was like 104. It was bad news.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Was there anything that you thought went well with managing your schedule, or?
Yeah, I mean, I was very lucky. I just got real lucky that year with, I was getting referred through a lot of like clients that were nurses and people working 3rd shift. So I was able to do a lot of showings, when the vast majority of people show in the evenings and weekends and that. So having help for showings, either being on a team or other new agents, is going to be key right now, because I don't know how people, I honestly high five you guys for getting into it right now and doing it part-time. So it's a lot of work. But yeah, I think definitely some kind of leverage, some kind of deal, you know, all timers are in this room. So maybe some of you are days and some of you are moving on that. There's always new agents and that will help you with showing. That's going to be your biggest thing. Being allowed to have your phone at work is good for you also. And something when somebody told me early on that really helped, because I was like, well, I don't want to tell my clients I'm going to go wait tables tonight. You always have an appointment. They want to work with a busy agent, and you're not lying. To this day, I tell my clients I have an appointment when I'm getting my nails done, chiropractor, because I do.
Never on vacation, you're at a conference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you are your own client, because if you can't take care of yourself, you can't manage anything else either. So, how about you, especially with our friend Mr. Thomas, also trying to transition from full-time with our friend Thomas.
Yeah. Yeah, who really thinks he's the real estate agent. Yeah, managing the schedule, it's hard. It's definitely hard, but I think that when you're passionate about what you want to do, if you really want to make that transition, you have to make time for the thing that's going to become your plan A, in a sense. So I literally, like, every time my schedule was open, I was like, live, eat, sleep, real estate, just so I can make sure that I knew exactly, you know, when I can work, when I cannot work, like set a schedule, a time block your schedule for the week, you know, do it on Sunday for the week. You know exactly what time you get off work. You know, you have this much daylight to show. Now that it's getting darker or seeing light longer, you can show more in the evening. I also partner with, so John, he's not, I don't think he's on the part-time agent as well. And him and I have been friends for a whole lot of years. But because he works, his schedule works like that, a lot of clients. So he it may be his client, but during the week, he cannot show. He works for UPS. So he's out till like 8 o'clock at night, sometimes delivering packages. So during the week, I handle his clients. On the weekend, he takes them back. And so we work. So find an agent that you can partner with, because if you're at work, somebody else in this office would love to partner with you and show your clients on your behalf. And they may not ask for anything. Like I really wasn't planning on, that was what he wanted to do. And if you want to give me money, hey, I'll take it. But you know, find somebody that you can partner with, because it's agents here that will be willing to help you or show on your behalf when we cannot get to it. Because right now it is the speed of the speed of the realtor to get into that house before it goes into contract for your clients. So mastering your schedule is going to be key to make that, you know, to be able to make that transition.
Karen, how about you? Have you done that transition?
You know, I just have to be honest. I'm like an all-in person. So every minute that I can work, I'm working. Like my husband wants me to be in the room watching TV. I know, it's like, how do you do that? So I'm not really good at I will schedule time for myself. I will say that. Like with my family, I went to them and I said, okay, so on Sunday mornings, we're going to have breakfast together. On Thursday night, I'm going to have date night with my husband. And then I'd get together with my adult children also. And if something came up, we had an agreement that if I had to go on a night that we were supposed to get together, we would do it. I would reschedule for that week. We wouldn't miss it, but we were doing it. I was doing what I'm doing for all of us, not just for me. But the answer is I worked pretty much day and night because I wanted to get going as quickly as possible. So I just took every class, put those on my calendar because I didn't have as many clients in the beginning. So if I wasn't with clients, I was taking classes. So just commit to your family stuff, time block it, make sure it happens because they need you and you need them. Because if I didn't do that, I probably would have skipped by all of that from my family.
Right. I would imagine when you're working, you know, a job and also spare amount of time that I can state, you know, am I working on something for my and like so that resonates. Just trying to balance all that. So that's a tough.
I will say one thing, that one of the reasons why I chose this office was because of the flexibility in like training. Even before we went to Zoom, we always recorded, we recorded our team meetings even before Zoom. Like when we used to record them and they used to send them out or whatever before we even went to the and so that's what drew me to the office, because I knew I was working full time and I still wanted to know what was going on in the office. And so that was important. So now with Zoom, with technology, a lot of agents part-time agents, you guys can.
You can go back and watch it.
Or you can listen in from your desk while you're at work. Just put in some earbuds and you can zoom into the meeting. Some jobs you can't. Some jobs you can't, but some jobs you can, depending on your employment. Some people can zoom in and listen, or you can go back and listen later. So I love the ability that we have our training recorded because it helps. Definitely helps with that.
How would you handle with Karen?
Go ahead.
Mine was my family.
Yeah,
My first deals that year probably were all family, close family, friends.
People you
Who
know.
already
People you
knew.
know.
So when I was in class, they told us to put it out on social media that you were in class and that you were gonna get your license soon. And so I did that. So I had people waiting on me to get my, they had me waiting to get, they waited for me to get my license. And then we kind of hit the ground running.
Yeah, mine was, my first listing and sale was a family member as well. I got involved with Divvy pretty early on, which is a really great lead generator in general. And social media, Divvy, yeah, she found the video, but I taught a class on it a
DIVY.
while ago. We do a lot of Divvy deals. My team is one too, but make social media an art. And anyone that's successful at it, I shameless plug Women's Council are doing for the lunch and learn. The Divvy lunch and learn actually, and then that. But we, you know, if you're posting every day who wants to buy a house, it's not the most interesting thing. If you share fun facts, or for me, I used to share, bought a house very young, my first one, like what that's done for my life, and you know, good stories about people that you've helped. You can even, you know, anyone in our office, ask them, they'll let you promote their listing online most of the time.
Oh, for sure.
And, you know, you just put a link to your own website and you get their info and you can, there's a lot of different ways to plant that seed.
I also did a lot of open houses.
Yeah, open houses too.
During COVID, I called some of the agents in our office that had really cool houses, and I said, can I set up a showing and do a live video tour through the house? So I'd walk through and just show the house to all my Facebook friends. Wasn't my listing. I would tell them whose listing it was, but I was looking for a buyer. Who wants to buy this house?
And go yourself.
Yeah.
The other day, I put on my Instagram story, I was showing condo that had pink cabinets, and I put up a poll and said, you know, is this your buy? Like 120 people respond to that, and it just kind of internally gets them thinking about buying a house.
Yeah, and just like being a person.
Yeah, just like how you loved house hunters and everything, it's the same thing. So that I've known agents that have done that, like they've just scheduled like ghost showings where it's just them, and they'll be like, oh, look at this house. Don't do that in a mansion, but like, you know, go
Normal
look at
house.
the houses yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get permission from the listing agent, and they'll get permission from their seller.
Yeah, most of like our listing agreements now, they didn't used to, but they, like our listing package has that COVID addendum. It says there will be video tours and things like that. Yeah, I mean, if it's vacant, if you call and ask the agent, I wouldn't put them out of their own house, but yeah, it's staged nicely vacant. Most of the time they say yes. Sometimes that's my listing, don't do it, but not one of mine, you know,
Yeah.
have at it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, what do you think?
Immediately, I got a certification called Senior Real Estate Specialist. It was an online class. I don't think it was very expensive, but I kind of had an unexpected outcome. It trained me how to work with senior citizens that were kind of being moved or transitioning into assisted living or something like that. But on my business card, and as I told people, they thought that I was a real estate agent for a long time because it says senior real estate agent, senior real estate specialist, SRES. So I had an unintended consequence, and really that was the best thing ever, because I didn't even get my license until I was 55 years old. So people just assumed that I had more experience than I did. And your license number tells the year that you got your license. And I found people saying, well, somebody told me that you just got your license and what do you know? And I was like, well, do they have a certification as a senior real estate specialist? No. So, I mean, yeah, put it on your business, take those classes and certify yourself and other things, because most agents don't do that stuff, right? They won't go that extra mile. True.
I would say, mine was just education. Like that, I was like, I never missed a class. I could be the only one in here. It was me and whoever was teaching, but I was gonna learn whatever they were teaching. Listening presentations, buying presentations to
Script practice. Yeah.
to whatever it was. Like I was very intentional and still am for the most part. I still know everything. I still learn something new with each skill. Just the education was very, very.
Carly, what was your best?
Education's good. So I kind of knew I was never gonna like fully quit my job until I forced myself to. So I booked myself a 3-week.
Wow.
And I knew they were never gonna give me the time off. So when I went full time, that shortly followed, which was tough to manage. But I made sure, now when I got in, I feel like they said to get 3 or 6 months savings. So I did that, my living expenses were low, I figured out insurance, I moved my retirement account over. I kind of did a lot of the logistical stuff, and that made me more.
I think that starting that with. Well, I do remember that it was quite a tumultuous trip. I remember hearing about it, but.
Yeah, well, that part of my life, I call it the ledge. Like the only way I could describe it is I felt like I was like standing on a cliff I had to jump off of, and I didn't know where I was gonna jump. So I'm deathly afraid of flying. So yeah, I booked a trip across the ocean alone, and then they missed the approach and the plane. I missed the connecting flight. My luggage came 3 days late. However, all of those things worked out because being the girl with no luggage, I made so many friends because they're all like, do you need mascara? Do you need a coat? Yeah, so it worked out, and I still keep in touch with them. So yeah, get your finances in order.
Book a trip.
So then.
I waited too long, and I was letting my self-care, it wasn't where it should be. And that's, I guess, mistake that I made. I was very scared I was gonna mess something up. So it's very, very anxious and really just waiting too long was my biggest mistake, because everything you guys are doing, everything any part-time agent is doing, what maybe you, I don't know how the chemist field is, but you can go back. And if you look at it a year from now, if you're still going part-time, are you going to wish that you took the leap? That's kind of how I look at it. And it worked out for me. I don't have all the degrees.
Mistake. I would say, well, probably 2, was waiting so long to get my license. That's number 2 is when I first got my license, I feel like I did not sleep. I didn't set boundaries. I was trying to speak to in the morning, I was listening. At night I was answering. I was just hungry for business, and so I was just like answering like a crazy. I had to set boundaries, like serve my phone now. Do not call me or text me after a certain time. not answering after 9 o'clock, like, you know, parameters.
The
Unless
world's not gonna end.
the world's
if
not
you
gonna
don't
end.
respond in 10 seconds.
Exactly. And I thought it would before. I was like, let me get to them. So just setting boundaries and.
I used to have
and-
my phone in the shower. I get it.
Oh, I took it in the bathroom too.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that.
Make in any, you know,
Because I was getting burnt out.
Yeah.
Because I was going. They wanted to see a house. I was like, let's go. No. And that was before houses were going crazy like this. And I was still going crazy, like the next day and, you know, rearranging my whole life and missing stuff and yeah, not anymore.
Karen, what was your biggest mistake?
I have two really. The first one was I started with another company that didn't have the training to teach me to build a real estate business. And so that's how you did that too. I ended up, and I came here because I was literally, even though I worked for another company, I was coming here for the trainings that I found. So, and I was like, oh my gosh, wow, look at all the training you did. Then I started watching YouTube videos about Keller Williams and started learning that you can get training there. And so I stayed there for 2 years and I figured out one day that how much money I was losing by not being at Keller Williams. So I made the change. So the second thing was the very first client I started working with was one of my husband's employees. And I should have, because it was a brand new real estate agent, I should have partnered with somebody on that listing to help me with it. And I wasn't willing to do it because I didn't want to split my commission. And so I made all kinds of mistakes, I did. I didn't promote it the way I should have. I didn't hire a photographer, professional photographer to take the pictures. You know, I thought I can do this by myself. Yeah, it was a disaster.
Learning process too, just making, you know, everybody has that.
Oh, yeah, fail forward fast.
From Leah Jones is on the meeting and she wanted to know what daily activities would you give a new agent to get new listings?
Yeah, I'm kind of already. I know she's talking about like a running club. So. And be very. People you kind of build up and that's where we don't want. Really possible.
And you wouldn't do this daily, but farming an area that you want to list in. So farming is huge. You can also do door knocking, knock in the area. James Shaw said you should, if you hold an open house, you should door knock 100 homes around that open house prior to the open house, inviting them to the open house. You should also do, if the open house is from 1 to 3, you invite the neighbors at 12:30, invite them as VIP guests prior to, and they'll see the service that you're giving.
Tom Ferry recommends that one too. That's a
the
good one.
service you're
Yeah,
giving,
good one.
and then they'll, you know, they're interviewing you while you're doing the open house. So that's another one. And then just being, I think a lot of times like social media is huge. Just showing your wins, but also showing your personality, like showing your family, your crazy posts. Carly is the queen of interesting posts on social media. But just, you know, being personable. So because people want to work with somebody they like, love, or trust. And that trust is big. And when you show your personality and who you are, people begin to trust you. And it's the biggest asset they'll ever purchase. So you want to, or sell, or especially sell, like right now, because they feel like they can sell it themselves, a lot of people. So you have to show your value.
I like the, I think it's called the DTD2, and I will find that somewhere.
I have
If you
it.
email me, but it basically gives you 2 letters of the alphabet. It's a sheet and it's just listed out, gives you 2 letters of the alphabet, and on the day, each day, and maybe it's 5 days a week.
Each week.
Yeah, every week, you do 2 letters of the alphabet in your phone. And you just call them up. Hey, how are you doing today? You know, just checking in. Are you hanging in there? Are you working? You know, how are things at the house? Are you thinking about selling? The market's crazy right now. Oh, I didn't tell you I'm a real estate agent. Get on the phone every single day and do the DTD2. And actually it goes through the whole year. It goes through that list twice. So you'll be touching everybody in your phone 2 times in that year with a personal call.
They've actually added 3 letters. It's 2 letters for calling and it's 1 letter for texting.
Oh, okay.
So they added text.
There you go. So here's what you do. You send a text message. It says, hey, it's Robin. I was just thinking about you. I hope you're doing great. It's that simple. Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing is, if you're driving to work, get on when you're driving in the car. Doing them in the car when you're driving. You can't do it 15 minutes. Yeah, you set the expectation at the beginning. You say, oh my gosh, I only had a couple of minutes, but I just thought of you and I had to call and say hi. I hope everything's great.
I don't
But I
do
would
that.
say call.
I don't do that at all. I hate talking on the phone, but what I have done, like, if I don't have to, like, please text me. Yeah. My phone calls are kind of like how Karen runs meetings. She's like, okay, we're starting on time and then we're moving. I like talking and things like this. I like sharing info, but I feel like I talk for a living. So I just want to like, but I do watch like my friends list on things, and all of social media is an algorithm. So I'll like scroll just through my Facebook friends list and say, okay, either haven't talked to this person, I haven't seen their stuff, and I'll go on and like react to a couple things or maybe send a message. It's never, I don't do it in a creepy way, right? So I'm not gonna like leave 14 out of the blue and they're like, Carly's a spam robot now. But I do that. And
That's a great idea.
That's a good
A lot of
idea.
people don't like to talk on the
I
phone.
think, yeah,
But I like to talk
I think
on
you
the phone.
should do both, but I'm a big rule breaker as far as like a few different things, but I'm more of a creative chaos kind of driver.
But I would say, Robin, talk to them. Call and talk, because they need to hear you. Text is great, but text is not for everybody. Like,
That's what I was gonna
Some-
say. Depends on which
it
generation.
depends
you're
on the
reaching out
generation you're
to.
texting. Some people don't like text messages.
Or text, this is a little bit of a fib, but like text somebody text one of us and be like, I'm gonna call my great aunt Susie and I need one of you guys to call me in 9 minutes. So I can say, oh, I've got a client call coming in.
I love it. That's a great idea.
You don't even have to use that. You don't even have to call and just say, I have a call coming in. Like, I've done that. Get the call, get the two phone.
You have a timer on your phone.
We
you
always
can
have
use.
calls. We always have calls coming in, or you may not have one and just say you have one.
Mhm.
And just ask for
Yeah,
forgiveness.
and you tell them it's a client, they're gonna be impressed. I'm like, oh, she's busy. Using her.
Well, let's like, we'll go to some questions from everybody. Start up in one second. What is your biggest piece of advice that you want them to take out of this room today? One sentence, short.
If you want this to be a career, you have to make an investment of time and you've got to set a date. Oh, you said one sentence. Set a date to be done.
There you go. Your turn.
Set a date to train, to stop being a dual career. Set that date and keep it. Set yourself up for success. I can't help that.
Oh, if you want to be all in, you have to be all in.
What's that?
Base the decision. What is telling you because.
Right.
Awesome. All right. Let's get some questions from.
Has it been an hour already?
We're at, right at 6:41.
Holy
Good time.
I have a question. So you're talking about touching base with different people. I have no problem doing that. I spent a lot of my adult life in like out west, like California, Arizona. Like I know, you know, Ohio.
How lucky are you?
Should I touch base with all of those
Because you
guys?
have referral partners out there and you can still get a piece of the business.
Yeah, I'm already starting to work on referrals.
I was gonna say, let,
And you don't have to do any of the work.
My friend here in Ohio, who's older, I really don't like text, I like phone calls, wants to sell his property in Arizona. I know 3 agents in Arizona lived out there, so we can connect them. I trust them. Okay, so it's a good thing. Yeah, I'm like.
Yeah. You need to. Yeah, that was just. In the news.
Create that passive income. Absolutely. Tell them you can hook them up with the best real estate agent in their area and you'll get 25%. You can even ask for 30%. People are willing to pay Op City 30% or 35% for a lead that is not even a warm lead, you know? You got to do all the work. This is a handoff. They should be willing to pay 30%. Right? %. Yeah. Keller Williams is offering insurance now too. Check it out. Yep. NAR and Keller Williams.
I have about
To look at that.
I haven't looked into that. I have US Health Advisors, which is absolutely fine if you don't like go to the doctor every week. It's a little more than my pay was when I had a job that provided insurance. And then I'm also very blind. America's Best has a pretty decent, called like Eye Care Club. I think it's like $99 every 3 years and it's pretty comparable to insurance. And the first pair of glasses I paid out of pocket was like over $400. I mean, it's called Eye Care, literally. Yeah, Eye Care Club. And then Dental Works has something similar. I think it's like 135 every other year. And it kind of like discounts visits and billing.
That's good stuff.
Dental Works, it's a chain, but they have, I don't know what exactly it's called, but it's like you pay it every couple years. So it's like yeah, at America's Best, the eye care. US Health Advisors, it is like they work similarly like travel agents, but you don't have to do it in open enrollment. You could do it any time in the year. So even if it's just temporary, you can do that, and you can also make like a once in a lifetime change. So it's one of the few types of insurance where you could maybe get cancer or something, and then you can have on it after the fact. So it's not perfect in terms of perfect in general, but it's
Catastrophic coverage, yeah. Keller Williams just announced at Family Reunion, they're offering to agents. I believe it's available now. I'll see if I can find some information and share that with everybody.
Getting texts like.
I'm getting those too, yeah.
Is that legit?
Just say stop.
I work with real estate agents on health insurance. Can I give you a quote?
Yeah.
The ones that definitely are spam are the ones that are like, my nephew Anthony saw your
Yeah.
listing on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
We're blowing them off right now.
Yeah. But you can go on NAR yourself and go to the healthcare thing and talk to someone. You don't have to with the scammers.
All right, Vanessa, good to see you.
Vanessa,
Questions?
I have a kind of like a twofold question. So when you guys transition, it always, full time, where you just, single,
So we took-
sole agent, or did you join the team?
I was
Solo?
I was solo, but the company that I went to, my split was 50. Actually it was 45, 55. I got 45, they got 55. But they did all the transaction coordination for me. So it was like being on a team.
Because I've always associated part-time with being in the team because of the help that you get. And
Yeah.
There's no doubt you get help,
Yeah,
but I'm doubting, because obviously there's just, so, you work a lot, and
mhm.
it's that an advice that you would, that I mean, what
I think right now it would be really, really difficult to be on a team. Like when we did it, even if it was a few years ago, it was a very different market. It is much more competitive and volatile. I say it's impossible, but it's a lot harder.
I would
So if
say,
you were to start today, would you go solo or would you join?
I would say go solo.
I would have joined a team.
I like doing solo. I came
When
from
What
corporate.
did I do?
I came from corporate where I had to report to someone.
Yeah.
I wanted as far away from those.
My
I
mindset
ran
at
from
the time
anything like that, so I wanted
was
to
one
be
house
solo.
What was it?
And I-
Sorry.
I wanted to sell one house a month to supplement my income, and then I sold 32. So
22 a month or 32 pairs?
in the year,
Oh,
yeah. So if you, it would have made sense for me to be on the team at the time. If you, so there's a, what we need to look at, right, is your net. So if you're on a team or whatever company, it is, right? So,
Believe me, that's why it's hard to make it, because, I mean.
yeah,
So I feel
yeah.
like-
But if the team can provide you more tools in business than you could do otherwise,
But I
That's-
feel like with us having the leverage we have here now with, the realty leverage.
Your realty
You
leverage.
can
yeah.
leverage off the transaction piece. So even being a solo agent, you don't have to do all the paperwork piece because you can leverage it off for a
Mhm.
couple $100
Mhm.
to your realty leverage, and they'll do all of your transaction work. So I feel like you don't necessarily, I'm not knocking teams, it just wasn't for me. It was.
That's
I
a
just
good point.
didn't I just didn't want to give up on my money, to be honest. I was coming in hot and I.
But
was
you had business
leaving-
and marketing in your
I
background.
did, and so I feel like teams
No.
work for some people.
Yeah.
And they don't work for other people, but I don't think, in this market, and that's why I said earlier, find somebody who can show on your behalf during the week, if you work 8 to 5 or 9 to 6 or whatever you work. Find a partner, somebody who's full-time, mind taking them in to go see a hot house that they need to get into, if you're gonna be solo, because it can be done. It's up to you. You can, some people pay like $20 to go and open a door. I mean, there's people like to open a door.
Per door, and some people pay.
Percentage.
percentage. So my team, we have this as like be fair. That's basically the model we have, and we've never had an issue with it. So like somebody shows one house, they open the door. If you leave for the weekend and you show them 15, I think we can.
Right.
Deal. But yeah, I mean, it's all about, like, I had an interview recently that the person had just moved from out of state. They don't know anyone. So there's a lot of struggles when you just start out, where to get business. You're new, you're anxious, you don't know things. So what is the right move for that? Are you gonna need, my team calls me all day with issues that I've typically been through at this point, but are you able to get business on your own? Are you able to manage it? Are you able to answer those questions or get a mentor? I would say at least get coached.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you, I went my first 4 years at a company that didn't provide a lot of training or anything. I was very lucky to have the business that I did, but I think everyone at this office can tell you that I went from being an agent to a business owner when I came to KW and like put our models in place. And it took me, a year to have that shift, but and if you want to start off solo and give it a try and get a team leader, no one says you have to, but I think if I were coming in right now in this market, I would probably have to join the team.
And this is now that I'm in a recruiting and retention role, I'm finding that everybody's different. Everybody has a different skill set. Everybody has a different tolerance level for whatever business they want to do. But Keller Williams is definitely the best place to be if you want to be an independent agent, because we do teach you how to build a business. And that's the key part. If you're going to be an independent agent, you have to build a business. You have to be willing to do it all. And that means bringing in your own, are you going to be able to bring in enough of your own business to support yourself? Other questions?
Keller Williams is an open book, by the way, so if anyone ever has questions on where that's going, where the team,
Yeah.
you're allowed to ask. I'm not going to, but Karen, show us our books.
Yeah, it's very
I
transparent
don't need to see
company.
the books, but it is an open books company.
Not always recruiting. Some of them are recruiting. It just depends on where they're at and how many people they brought in, during the year. We have about 11 teams right now. I'd be happy to talk with you about that. sometime. You're interested.
CJ, Amanda, Magnus.
Lee started a team. Keisha has somebody on board. Yep.
Yeah. And if you-
The Jones team also.
If Katie, you're okay with it, if you write down a couple of maybe 3 to 5 things you're looking for in a team, they could probably meet a couple people.
Right.
It has to be in the evening though.
Even. And to be fair, we want to introduce you to all of them. We want you to talk to all the ones that are hiring, because
You should.
they're the connection. I mean, you have to, there's a culture
Yeah.
within a culture, right?
Yeah.
With each team.
They
So,
each have different splits, like everybody's split is not the same.
right. Yep.
Me. I don't know.
What does that mean?
That just means that I partner with another agent.
Okay.
So when he needs, so I partner with him on all of his deals because he cannot do anything during the week.
Oh, yeah, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so I write contracts, I do pretty much, I go to inspections, I do it all because during the week we can't do it.
Mhm.
So, but it's his lead. But I do,
So you work a referral kind of thing, or sort of?
have a different agreement.
I'm not asking. for
No,
the details, I'm just-
No, it's fine, we split 50-50. I'm gonna be honest, we split it 50, 'cause no, he does not work on it. Occasionally I'll have him show somebody for me, but he doesn't, because I can work my own.
About alignment. I tell
Yeah.
the buyers they know in like 10 seconds if they love the house. I think it's kind of the same thing with a team in an office. You know pretty quickly if they align. Like my interviews, when I have interview teams, they're weird because for me, real estate is the personality and psychology. I run my team and different things to the table. Other teams are like,
KPA.
Yeah.
Yeah,
More
yeah.
like, yeah, by the book.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
offerings are different, structure is different, and some teams don't hire.
That's
Yeah,
true.
that's true too.
Most don't, yeah. All right. Yeah, thank you guys. You guys are awesome.
I'm sure that if anybody wanted to reach out to you, you'd be happy to talk to them.
Were there any questions on here?
Call or email.
Nothing else.
any kind of-
Okay.
Yeah.
Always here.
Thanks for being on, Keisha and Leah.
Bye, Keisha and Leah.
Bye.
Bye.
Maria.